First of all, to Ariel, I just want a word of warning. Zeolites have a huge surface area, but most of it is in a tunnel whose diameter is measured in angstrom. And there are all kinds of arrangements. Not all arrangements are suitable for everything. So to say just we make zeolites is not enough. What do you get? Uniformity and so on. Okay. Okay. No, it's all right. It's good. Okay. Now I want to make another comment to the previous issue of actually we are talking about harmonization of procedures, because many countries have already their own procedures, including Israel, the United States. I guess Holland does. How to
harmonized already to a large extent in Europe and in the US. So
okay. Yeah, that's it. So I'd like to suggest, if it's at all possible, this meeting actually is under the auspices of the WACAU. And maybe somebody should approach them so they'll have some flag issue of making this harmonization global and define method of analysis and other necessary issues should be unified.
A quick answer to that.
Yuri, we need to get on.
Okay.
A quick answer is we're, as a group that has the ability to do that, and I think that could be, funds could be obtained in a group to do that on an international basis.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, now.
Introduce your panel.
Okay.
Bring them up.
Okay, and now it's the time of the panel. I'd like to invite the panelists to come and sit on the stage. I hope they are still here. Arya Busak is here. Who else? Shai, Shai, hi. Shai is here. I'm here. Who else should be here? June? Yeshayahu. Who else should be here? Omri. June was around. That's it. אתה תבוא? Yeah. Okay, so the people that whose name I called, please come to the stage and we'll bring your chair. Okay, 3. כן, יש 4, זה בסדר. לא ראיתי אותך קודם. Okay, first let me introduce the panel member, Shai Reicher, who is from the Ministry of Health. Thank you for your constructive comment. Okay, so, okay, go ahead. Just a few words about yourself.
No problem. Shai Reicher from the Ministry of Health. I'm scientific advisor of Professor Grotto, who is the head of public health services. And also work on risk assessment and risk management regarding food and feed contaminants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. To my left is Ilan Tzadikov for the Ministry of the Environment, and please say a few words about yourself.
Well, I'm from the Natural Resource Unit or branch. And we are responsible for agriculture and wastewater mainly, and open area issues in the Ministry of Environmental Protection.
Okay, and last but not the least is Aryeh Busak, who represents the farmers. Yes, we also have farmers in Israel, and he represents the users of the fly ash in agriculture. Say something.
Okay, I'm an agronomist working in Megadlei Drom Yehuda organization, which is a growers organization. And then I'm working as an extension. I'm working as an extension and researcher. And dealing with many growing aspects, mainly irrigation, fertilization, and many other aspects, and working with Pinchas on using organic materials in the field, and we now concentrate on enviro in the last few years, and I can
Yeah.
I would like I make short presentation about this if
Yeah, sure. We can start with you.
Is tomorrow.
שלום יום. זה 2 דקות.
אתה מצלם אותו? אתה מצלם אותו? בזמן הפרזנטיישן?
תעביר לו ככה. תשים לו על ידו.
תלבש את זה.
Just I would like to say a few words about the practical aspect of using Enviro. As you can see in the slide, we used to apply it in a commercial field 50 tons of Enviro soil, and we can translate it to 350 kg of nitrogen. And the application is in many farms, and you can see that we mark every plot that we applied the material, in this case on the Google Earth, and we know exactly in which plot we applied, when we applied, and we also has the information about the crops that we use it. This year, we try to make some comparison in the farmer fields about the effect of our materials. In this case, we are talking about a field near Ashkelon, and we are talking about wheat. In wheat, we used to, let's say, to analyze the plant at the stage of 4 up to 5 leaves, because in this stage, by using this analysis, we know how much we have to add to the let's say to the crop. Otherwise, maybe there is no need. And you can see here that we have just 2 applications, and you can see that when we apply the Enviro 50 ton per hectare, we increase the concentration of the nitrogen in the dry weight from 1.5 to almost 2, which means we increase the concentration in 30%, and we applied the material just a few days before the planting or seeding, and incorporate in the soil, and then we plant or seed the wheat. Another comparison we did is in another field, in which case we have a control without nothing. We have let's say the farmer use 80 kg of nitrogen per hectare according to the recommendation. We use the Enviro soil, again 50 ton per hectare, and there is a combination between, we add to the farmer application the Enviro also. You can see it here. And if we are going to see the concentration in the plant in this specific field, we can see that in the control we have 1.15. When we add the chemical application, we have 1.5. The Enviro alone brought us to 1.8, and when we combine together, we just get 1.85, which means that in this case, the chemical fertilization increased the concentration by 30%, and the enviro increased the concentration in the plant in the, let's say, 57%. So the meaning is clear. We can get a nice benefit from this material, and this is the short presentation I would like to share with you now.
Okay, so what Arya showed us just strengthened, I think, the impression that we had today that application of fly ash with or without sludge, sewage sludge, can be good for agriculture if used right. On the other hand, there are many objections to the use of fly ash in agriculture. I won't go through them, but I think during the day they were covered, the objection, the possible objections. Just would mention some things that were not mentioned during the discussions today, and that's the argument that even if fly ash is good for agriculture, it doesn't mean that one should recommend or even allow its use. For example, because it has other alternative uses. And why use it somewhere where there are advantages, but possible disadvantages, where you can use it when you can use it, for example, in building materials, where it's safer, and no problem. So on this background, I think there are three questions that were put in before the panel. I think it's on the here, right? Ah. So not all of them. So I'll just read them quickly, and then just we'll make a few rounds with the panel and then open the discussion. The questions are, is it advisable to prohibit, on the other hand, to permit or possibly even to encourage the use of coal ash as an additive to agricultural land? If to permit it, is it necessary to formulate conditions for the use of what needs to be done to maximize the benefits for that use? In other words, just permit it or permit it under restrictions. Okay, the second question is, by the way, restrictions, and if yes, which? The second question is there a significant risk of damage to the soil following long-term use of repeated application of additives containing coal ash? By the way, that's an argument that was brought up many times, and to the best of my knowledge, there is no evidence to that, but still, that's why we have a discussion. And if there is a risk, such a risk of long-term damage, what steps should be taken to prevent it, or at least to see if it actually occurring? And the last point that was brought up, what is the proper role of the regulator in the context of agricultural use of coal ash? For example, the existence of alternative uses of the ash with high economic value sufficient to justify statutory limitation on the agricultural uses of coal ash? These are the three questions that we came up. This does not mean that the members of the panel are not allowed to say whatever they want. So in that spirit, maybe since we started with Arya, or actually we didn't, because I guess you have a lot to say about this point. So let's start from this side. Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I just want to mention that Israel holds kind of a world record in utilizing fly coal ash in the world. That's really amazing because we are such a tiny country, and we are lacking fertile lands. So I'm not sure that we should ask whether how to minimize the risk by using coal ash, fly coal ash, but we should actually ask the same question that you raised, whether we need to use it for this purpose. So in that case, the question that should be asked is whether we should use it, taking into consideration that we do have good alternatives. And the alternatives are, of course, using it for as a material in cement for construction, in order to pave roads, and many other applications. So that's the first thing. And I think that till now we've heard only, we stayed and stick at the level of risk assessment rather risk management. And risk assessment is actually, we know all, we gather all the researchers, all the results and everything, and then we decide whether this issue is safe or unsafe. But if you look at the broader picture, so you have to relate to all alternatives. And this is the main point why the Ministry of Health is not really in favor of the use of fly ash in sludge. Last, I think in January, the Ministry of Health, to be more precise, the National Food Authority, permitted the use of fly ash in sludge in order to grow corn and wheat. I just want to say, to clarify that we didn't give any permission to commercialize or for marketing any fruits or vegetables that were grown on this kind of soil. And this is really important because maybe we'll do that in the future as we have more results. But till now, that's the policy of the Ministry of Health. Actually, we don't know anything about the effects of long-term use. We've looked for information, but till now we don't have that much information, and therefore we, of course, would like to follow up with as long as the application is still going on. And that's it. I think that's the main points that I want to clarify.
Okay, we will have another round because I guess you'll have something to say after you hear the rest of the panel.
Well, the point or the policy of the Ministry of Environmental Protection was well explained already by the Ministry of Health. It's nice to see that we have
Agreement
about one thing, but look, we are speaking about waste. Waste is not a bad word, is not a condemned word, but it is waste. And we in Israel, we are specialists. I think we are number one even in recycling certain waste. Yeah, we recycle nearly all, 98% of but nearly all our wastewater. Because we need water. We have, shortage of water. We recycle our wastewater for agriculture. We take a big risk, a calculated risk, because there is a risk of salinity, of hormones, and who knows what else in this water, and yet we do it because we need. We recycle most of our sludge, of our biosolids, and soon, in less than 2 years from now, we will recycle nearly 100% of the biosolids when the biosolids of the biggest wastewater treatment plant, the Shafdan, who treats the effluents of the greater Tel Aviv region, will stop dumping it to the Mediterranean, and will convert it to Class A biosolids, and it will go also for agriculture. So we do recycle. But our point is based on basic environmental principle. There is no need to dump waste on the fields if we are not sure about the benefit of this dumping from one hand, and we are not sure because we are leaning on the professional unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, which does not see the things the same as we heard from some of the researchers here of Volcanic Center. This is from one hand. And from the other hand, we don't have a problem of coal ash or coal fly ash discharge as you have in Australia or as we heard that there is in China, because we have good alternatives. There is a big demand in Israel for coal ash in the building industry for cement, for concrete, maybe also for infrastructures building. There is such a demand that there is even a request from the cement company to import coal ash, to import to Israel coal ash. So if there is such a demand in safer uses than agriculture, safer, what can we do? Why should we discharge the coal ash to agriculture, to our fields, and that's it. We are trying to make like a scale of preferences in the uses of coal ash. So the most preferable use will be the cement, and then the concrete, and then the infrastructure. And if we will satisfy all these demands, there is a place also for agriculture use. The policy is built on this, based on this, and this is our point.
Okay, Aryeh? Ma.
Lots of questions?
Okay, David.
I just want to make a comment that from what I'm hearing, it appears to me a bit of confusion in this way. I understand what each of you have said, but when I look at the roles that different people play and what needs to be done, risk assessment is perspective. It's looking forward what might be risks. Risk management is taking those uncertainties and thinking and assuring that those risks are not realized in an unacceptable way. The two are not, one's not a substitute for the other. You need both. The second is, when I see a system like this, I say, well, what are the obligations of the different parties? The obligation of somebody proposing a use is to demonstrate its benefits and to demonstrate its safety. It's the obligation of the public health ministry, health or environment, to assure that the safety is real and that the information provided is credible, so that the risk assessment's perspective, but to make sure that first that's reasonable, and then that their assurance is going forward. Then it becomes up to the market, the economics of the whole situation, of the people that are producing the agricultural products, or producing the concrete, or producing the fly ash, to say, let the market decide what the biggest economic advantage is within the constraints of the risk management. So to say that it is up to the government to say, well, this is a preferred use, or this is not a, or there's a hierarchy of preferred uses, that seems somewhat of a distortion. Because rather, you can say, this is what's necessary to assure public safety. This is what the fly ash, the benefits that are being brought from the people that are trying to use it. This is how it compares to what our soils already have. I've heard nothing about what the background levels are of these constituents are in Israeli soils, for example, and then to test to make sure that it's safe going forward if it's used, so you can use it under these conditions, but then let the economics play out, let the market drive it. If it is such a valuable resource for construction, then they will pay to get the coal ash.
They do pay.
If it is such a valuable use for agriculture, the people in agriculture will pay for it as a substitute for what they would otherwise pay for. So whether it goes to agriculture or it goes to construction, if it is safe and meets the risk management requirements of society, of the country, then let the economics play out as to where it goes based on supply and demand.
Okay. Okay.
Also,
Just thoughts.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we should do this. We let Arya talk, and then we'll make a second round in short.
My
Ma'am?
comment is
Okay.
that working with Pinchas to see what is the long run effect of using these materials in a heavy dosage. And as I understand, we collect a lot of data about this issue, and it looks to me that there are many advantages to use the envirosol, for example, in our, let's say, fields. I'm not dealing with the political or macro agenda about the collage, but I believe that we know quite a lot about the long-run effect of these materials. We are talking about intensive application. Now is the 4th year. We collect
not 20 years, 20 applications. The 20 applications were added to the soil at the same time, no negative effect. I mean, what else do you need? Now, it doesn't mean that under some conditions there may not be problems. But this only means that you need to inspect, to follow up. The analogy is the FDA. Even after you approve a drug, you keep following it. And sometimes you do discover that there are problems. So fine, allow repeated usage, follow it. If in 50 years you start to see some sign, it won't jump, some sign of deterioration, you stop the use. You don't expect that there'll be a step effect, that suddenly the soil will disappear. And the last point that I would like to make, by the way, I promise not to say anything on the second round. The last point is the Ministry of Agriculture. I can be a hero because nobody is here from the Ministry of Agriculture. That's my. You're spoiling my show. I don't understand. So, Pinchas, I'm retired. So, but anyways, is from the Ministry of Agriculture. He's from the research branch of the Ministry of Agriculture. So he happened to be a scientist, which I guess makes him not important as far as policy makers.
We are scientists as well.
What?
We are scientists as well.
No, but he acts only as a scientist. That's his job. But all he does is fly ash, but that's not considered the policy of the Ministry of Agriculture. But one person in the Ministry of Agriculture, 2, 3, that are against it are the ministry policy. I am not aware of any policy decision of the ministry regarding fly ash. There never was. What happens, one person from one ministry calls one person from the other ministry. This guy says, forget it, it's no good, and we have a policy of the ministry. It's not so. There is no policy of the Ministry of Agriculture. It never was decided, and I do hope that one day they'll see it, they'll think, they'll listen, and they learn, and maybe make the right decision. Okay, I'm done. Okay,
So it's my
round
turn
two.
again.
Yeah, round
okay.
two.
So first of all,
May I comment something on what Shai said before?
I
I mean,
No?
the data that we have accumulated, I think that we have better data on many crops, maybe stronger,
louder.
So what's needed is that people that in the regulatory position will really want to read that stuff. For example, there is a guy there are some guys, I won't name them, that say that the discussion is closed. We don't want to see data, surely not scientific data. We have decided we have a concept. That's our concept. We do not want to discuss.
I would be happy to get his
And
name.
this is in writing. If someone wants to see it, I can show
Yeah,
you.
okay.
Data doesn't care. If they don't care about it.
Yeah, but that's not
This is
the
one
situation.
point. Another point is if you do not allow to market the crop, farmers will not grow them. So we will never know. And the problem with what happened the last time that you actually stopped marketing the day that people had to cut their crops is that some large farmers, as said, they closed the gates for
Yeah, and
Since
that happened just because we asked you to give us all your reports and data and results, and you decide to give us all the data only 3 weeks before they had to harvest their crops. It's a problem, but yet if we have to prefer the public health is
like that because
much more important than
Pinchas,
any other
Pinchas,
crop.
wait, hold
Yeah,
everything. 1 minute. The program says that first we'll have a panel discussion, and then there'll be an open discussion for about 50 minutes. So let's stick to the...
יש את זכות הצעקה.
תצעק כמה שאתה רוצה, אתה יכול אפילו לעמוד על הפודיום.
Well,
He said he demands the right of the shout, and I
The
told
last
him he
shout.
can stand on the podium and shout as much as he
This
wants.
is one of the
Okay.
famous writers.
Yeah.
80 years ago. No, 100 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, but let's get back to business. Okay, Shai, go
so
ahead.
first, Uri claimed before that he is afraid or concerned that the demand of fly ash for construction will decrease dramatically in the few next years or decades. As you probably know, we have a huge shortage of apartments in Israel now, and there are governmental plans to build hundreds of thousands apartments in Israel in the next 2 decades. So I'm definitely convinced that you will have demand for all the coal ash that you have, and even more. Some of, I don't remember who, but some raised the, David, yeah, you said it, as the regulators, we are not allowed to not supposed, yeah, that's better. Not supposed to set the priorities. But I just want to remind you and the audience that the National Coal Ash Board is also governmental, and they do prefer.
I'm saying if they should, I'm saying.
Yeah. It's just to answer your question. And there is a problem. You said that we should let the free market do its own work or course. But it's a problem because I'm not sure whether this is the situation now, but the fly ash was given for free for agricultural purposes.
This is the situation.
Yeah. Coal ash was given for sure, at least at the beginning, for free. So that's not a free market.
No, you're confused. We sell fly ash the same price to concrete plants like
But the
entire-
farmer gets it for free.
Afterwards,
Yeah, the farmer gets it for free. So this is not demand.
economic.
This is not free market. If I get something for free, so of course I would take it, no doubt. So just to remark that as long as this is a free market, so you're right, but this is not. This is kind of
free market, and the price is the result of a free commercial situation.
so. How much do the farmer pay for 1 ton?
It's not relevant. It's not relevant.
Of course, it's relevant.
It's not relevant. There is a supplier and there is user. They meet somewhere between them. It's not the job of
No, I was just referring to David's remark. That's it. We are not involved in the economic things. We just have to take care of public health. That's it. That's not our job to make sure that he has profits or not.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
it?
that's it, yeah.
אוקיי. רגע, עוד לא, חכה. אתה רוצה, אילן?
I will say, but it is again, it is what I've said before. This is why I said that we are speaking about waste, not about a product. By definition, it is waste. And we are speaking about waste management. Waste is not a bad word. Waste is not a bad word, but waste is still waste. And it is still waste management. And still, if we can find other more beneficial or less riskier uses to this waste, we will prefer it. It is very simple, and it is based on a very simple environmental principle. That's all, without calculating the risk and so and so. If we had a problem of coal ash, which is piling, I don't know where, in the power stations, and we have nothing to do with it, and we had to find some solution. So of course, it is instead of dumping it to the sea or dumping it to landfills, maybe it is better to use it in agriculture. But we are not in this situation. We are not in this situation. There is a huge demand for coal ash, and this is why the regulator will direct the coal ash to these more preferable uses. That's it. This is the principle, without calculating risk and so on.
אוקיי. אריה?
Okay.
Okay.
If the product in the construction industry is valuable, and they pay for the ash,
Of course.
why would a producer of ash give it to agriculture for free?
No.
Because they can sell it for a profit.
because this is what we spoke before. The producer is ash doesn't give it for free. He sells it
No.
to the producer of sludge. The producer of sludge wants to get rid of his sludge. Yes, so he mix it with the fly ash, and instead of dumping the sludge to landfill, which cost much because the regulator had put tax on dumping sludge, high tax on dumping sludge to landfill, the sludge producer can give. It's better for him to give the sludge for free to the farmer. This is the situation. But we don't have to get into this economic relation.
What this really is not about utilization or benefits of utilization of fly ash. This is about treatment of sludge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the more apartments you build, the more sludge you have.
What's wrong with it? Okay, Dr. Reimers?
Well, first, let's put it this way. In the United States, they've done a tremendous amount of risk assessment. And the criteria I gave you today were 2 orders of magnitude below what we're using for Class A biosolids, EQ. So the levels are pretty damn safe. We talked about organics and stuff, and there never has been a problem with them anyway, but we're looking at them as we continue to go with that. The thing that I would imply is when you make a product for use, I call your enviro process producing a ag line or a soil amendment. And that's what you're producing right now. And the price for that is probably in the range of $10 to $30 a dry ton. Now, what I said today was if we look at the market value of where you're looking at things, there are 2 things occurring with alkaline stabilization. One is we're beginning to understand the stability of it, so we can drop the pH. So now we've increased the options by which we can use it. Because when you just have a high pH material, it's limited in application use. The other thing I brought up was the ability to add other ingredients in there to make the material into a fertilizer. A fertilizer is 888 or 880. So when you have like nitrogen at 8, you put some ingredients in, you can now have a fertilizer. Now, this has to meet risk assessment, and it has to make dollar value. And so I personally think that what you're looking at now with the enviro process and using ingredients that are a lot lower in cost, you're probably going to be able to get the processing of this down to the range of about $100 to $150 a dry ton, which is pretty low. When you do that, and you bring in, if you bring the iron in, and we're talking about in Florida where they're talking about that, it gets up to $70 to $100 a dry ton. So what you have at that point is almost equalization of the value. So my other point is, what you have here is a value-added product, Dave, that is a market concern thing. And the risk assessment that we have at this point in time is very rigorous and very, very safe. And I'm in the School of Public Health, okay, in the sense of that. But I would say that. The other thing, just off the top, you know when you had the 160 and the 56 and the 160 for the nitrogen? You know why that was limited? Very simple.
Saturation.
You volatilize off the fertilizer stuff goes with ammonium, and it just went right out of the pipe.
Would you please say what is the updated percentile of coal ash that you use?
What?
What is the percentile percentage of coal ash, fly coal ash that you use in agriculture for agriculture?
I would say I would more say alkaline stabilization because that's what we're really talking about. And I say in that part, we're probably looking at about 5 to 10%.
Of fly ash.
In the United States, 50% of the biosolids is Class B land applied. And so, but you have heat-dried material, which is in that. So that's called Class A and Class B.
הוא אומר כמה בוצע, איזה אחוז מהבוצה משתמשים בזה.
Agricultural purposes, it's very small.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
was talking
I know
about-
the
No, no,
number.
there was a
Alpha
misunderstanding.
stabilization.
I know
I'm
that-
not talking about, I'm talking about the same thing.
I know that you use. I'm not sure whether it's updated or not
Sure.
because I read it 2 years ago or a year ago. That you use only 0.0046% of fly ash for agricultural purposes. And in
After
Israel,
that, you're probably
and in
right.
Israel, we use approximately 5%. So it's
But
much
in-
much higher. And
but-
taking into consideration that
Sure.
in the U.S. you have wide lands, you can, for example, if your lands are corrupted or whatever, so, and you can just bend it. In Israel, we don't have that privilege because we don't have enough lands to do that.
No,
So.
no question. One of the things that you got to realize is when I apply biosolids to the land, I apply it on either a nitrogen or phosphorus limiting factor. So you can't just dump biosolids on at that point. You have to hit agronomic rates for what you're doing. And what's happening right now is they're moving to phosphorus as a critical element, which becomes a little bit more involved than nitrogen. But my point in this argument was, and then one other thing, I guess, on the ash stuff, there is another application that's really rising, and that is the use of Enviro, where they're doing it there, but there's other companies that could do it, where they blend it in with high sulfur coal, and internally it knocks down the sulfides and nitrogen, so they get emissions like low
Okay.
sulfur coal. So that-
Okay, but that's not relevant.
Envirofuel.
yeah,
Yeah,
environmental-
but
this
it's
is not relevant to Israel.
agriculture.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But-
Okay, I said
but
this
I'm
way.
trying to
Be one
say,
of the
it's
alternatives.
application, value-added application, that's all.
אוקיי. פנחס? אוקיי.
לא, טחנו את זה כבר מכל הכיוונים. נחזור על אותו דבר עוד
לא,
פעם?
לא, עכשיו רגע, אני פותח לקהל, מה?
We have to consider the alternative, both to the use of fly ash and to the use of sludge. We start with the sludge. I presented some data that showed, actually the alternative for, we can use only class A. This is again, addressing something which Israel is unique in, using only
unique in many
class A
things.
sludge.
Even if in coal ash use, we are
So,
unique.
class A sludge, unless it's enviro, will be compost. Compost is much more deleterious to the environment than envirosludge, and I showed the data. You volatilize over 4. Suppose we would have composted all of the sludge in Israel, you would have volatilized, emit to the atmosphere more than 4,000 tons of ammonia. So, okay, it goes to Jordan to fertilize their fields. That's okay. But do you want to do that? How much carbon do you volatilize? How much greenhouse gases are involved both in the composting process itself, from the compost, and from the process of composting? Anybody in the ministry thought about that?
No.
None.
No.
None. No one.
Exactly.
No one cares about them. How much microorganisms, dust-borne microorganisms, pathogenic microorganisms are being carried over to the population? Did the Ministry of Health think about that? No. But compost is okay. Why? Because compost is being used traditionally. Now let's go back to by the way, you use all of this nitrogen as enviro, nothing goes, even the amount which is being volatilized during the preparation of enviro goes into a tank of acid where you can then reclaim it as fertilizer. So this is much more safe environmentally than composting. But you know, it's an issue that it doesn't even get recognition. Why? Because the involved parties, both in the three ministries, even don't think about that or do not want to consider that.
No, it's not true.
Now
but
let's go to fly ash.
never mind.
What's the alternative use of fly ash? I don't want, put it in concrete. And this is something where I ask you to go out. Because I'm going to say something that you won't like. Rodon, you know, we should have put here not Ilan but Stilia on the podium. So you know, it's an, how do you call it, radioactive waste.
Mm-hmm.
So why should I have radioactive waste in my building, in my house? You know, usually you build the חדר ביטחון, how you say חדר ביטחון?
Safe room.
Yeah,
Shelter.
you know,
Shelter.
this thick walls made of concrete, you put your kids in that room and they absorb radioactivity and radon from the walls. Why do you prefer that over putting it, you know, at infinite dilution in soil, when you know that nothing is being taken up by the plants? No, it moves in the soil. We are talking about arsenic, cadmium, what was it? Lead,
Mercury.
Lead, mercury.
mercury.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it's not being taken up by plants and it doesn't move anywhere. So I'm not sure what your preferences are coming from. I only know that the only regime that actually the regulators knew better is they don't exist anymore.
Okay.
Even more, even
I don't know if to answer or refer it or not.
No,
No,
go
I think
ahead.
no,
Yeah, probably.
This was a comment, not for answer.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
There is no answer.
you're shielded.
Okay.
Actually, I have a question, of course, to Shai. And you said that you need more data, you need more time to see what the risks are.
Yeah.
And Ilan said that that the ash have a better use in concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask myself, Shai, first of all, how many data, how many years you need to pick up the data? Please tell us.
Yeah, that's a great
because-
question.
Because it seems like
Go ahead.
5 years. Yes, we work 5 years, but yet it's like never enough. They need more.
No, it's not right because as I told Pinchas before, when we had enough data, so we could evaluate the risk, the public health risk or probability for risk.
Because I'm
So-
working like 4 years.
Yeah, that's great. So probably you will have to work 20 years if you want to earn some money from your company, right? So you have to invest in research, you have to give us the results, you have to give us all the data, and yeah, that's true. And many years we asked for the data, but we didn't get it. And only last year we got the data, and 2 months later you got the permission to marketing your crops. So that's not right. It's not true what you're saying.
Okay.
That's it. And we ask for follow up, and we do ask for follow up. What?
You
Sorry?
couldn't ask for many years because we do have an environment only for 2.5 years.
Yeah. So we waited
How
2
could you
years.
ask for many years?
For 2 years we were waiting for your results.
No.
That's
That was last year after 1 year of use. You couldn't ask for many.
no. But you say that you have results from 5 years, right? So decide whether you have results from 5 years or from 2 years.
Okay.
I'm not sure now. I'm
Okay,
confused. So
Okay, Rami.
In the environment, there are two aspects. One is environmental protection, and the other one is groundwater, which are not, they are related, but they are not belong to the same office. As I know from information that I got already, they are not considering whatsoever with a fly ash application to soil regarding water quality contamination. We don't
We
have
do.
any problem. They solve the problem, they calculate it, they do have a rules. So I don't understand the position, actually, without saying, so don't tell me that, you know, this is something harmful, everybody can get sick of it or whatever. Just go to the down point and convince me that you have something in your hand which is much dangerous than those people that think in groundwater too. Tell me.
This is why I don't say it is dangerous. This is not the point. I'm speaking about an environmental principle. It is not
What is the
dangerous.
principle?
Listen, it is not dangerous
What
because
is the principle?
listen, because we
let
have
him answer, Rami.
What?
Let Ilan
Okay,
answer.
no, I'm asking.
it is even not dangerous by definition because we have standards for biosolids applications on land. The coal ash doesn't arrive to the field as coal ash. It arrives as class A biosolid, yeah? And we have standards for this. And it is beneath the standards of heavy metals, of whatever. We even have standards of radioactivity. And with the amount or with the dosage that we usually apply envirosoil on the field, we are beneath the radioactivity standard.
Okay.
Also for buildings and concrete, we have standards of radioactivity. And the use of coal ash in concrete is beneath the standard. So we are not speaking about risk. I'm not speaking about risk. The Ministry of Environment didn't see the benefits of using coal ash
Is not your
in
task.
agriculture.
It's
Of
not your
course,
task.
that's right. We are not the
It's your
experts in
business.
this. We have the professional unit of the Ministry of Agriculture
Yeah.
that we lean on.
Yeah.
And this
Who is the
unit,
professional
and
unit?
this Sham.
Sham is a professional
Yes.
unit?
Rega, just a minute, just a minute.
Yes.
Vulcan is a professional unit.
This is the research.
Just a minute.
No.
Just a minute.
Pinchas
They are
is a
research.
researcher.
Just a
He is
minute.
a
And they are the extension unit. Why are the extension
Just a
unit the
minute,
professional?
just a minute.
This is what we lean
Just
on.
just a minute.
And they tell us
They,
this is not that the use.
excuse me,
But let me
why
just-
not?
Okay.
רגע,
I'm-
רמי, תן לו ואחר כך ניתן לך.
No, I'm sorry to that I'm exaggerating this a bit, but why not go to the open market in Carmel and ask those people for advice? I mean, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I'm in pension. I don't care about, I don't have any fear for anyone. I just put everything on the table. I'm telling you, you have here a research institute which is in the first line of many, many institutes in the world, in the United States as well. They asking for our advice. You go to those people that go in for to go to apply.
We go
what
to
we
the
are
ministry,
generating.
to the ministry of this institute.
To the
Just a minute.
ministry.
We go
What do you
there.
mean? What do you mean? We are part of the ministry.
Okay, but they
So what
also-
you talking about? You know, it seems to me, just a minute, it seems to me that maybe, and let me put it suggestion. I'm sorry that I'm going to suggest something. I think that we have to meet the Minister of Environment personally with some advisors in his office, with some scientists, and elaborate this point and finalize it. It cannot be that people that really have some fear from something that I don't understand will put a position and based on advice of on the experimental station and make the point. There is no way. I'm telling you, there's something wrong in Israel.
But the minister will consult.
No,
Denmark.
I'm really.
No, something is rotten in
I'm
Denmark.
sorry.
It's not.
I sat here almost sleeping because I couldn't hear what's going on here.
Okay.
And I'm telling you there's something wrong here.
Okay. Christos?
Just a comment.
Okay.
Living from all these issues related to the policy and the market and the economy, I would like to focus more on the concept sustainability, environmental
You're
sustainability,
right.
and to see which of these options are more sustainable.
Right.
I think we have to reconsider
what is waste, I remember New Zealand in 2010 they put a purpose, no wastes by 2010. And I visited New Zealand some years ago, and I think they are very close to this goal, no wastes. So from this point of view, I think we have to think a little bit better, not in the to stay in the surface. What is economical? What is
right?
This is my
Okay. Now I have a comment and then a question. The comment is the EU defined fly ash as a byproduct, right? Byproduct.
Yeah.
So if you're saying waste of waste, it's not waste. It doesn't matter. As I said before, it's nominal. It's just terminology. But if you want already, it's not waste. Okay, that's a comment.
byproduct or secondary product, something.
Whatever you want. It doesn't matter what they call it. That's what I'm saying. Forget
These
it.
are all definitions made for the regulators.
Okay.
By if you
No,
call
but
it
I have a
waste or
question.
byproduct or
But
something.
I have a
It depends
question
what
to
you want
shine-
to do with the material.
Yes, but
I have a
the
question.
driving forces should be those that the science and the research brings up.
Okay.
We have to take.
Okay.
Let me say something about science, just 2 sentences.
Okay, bye.
Because
Rami,
I know
Ilan is
that I'm-
talking.
I
Wait.
know that I'm the bad guy here, but I'm talking about. But I don't mind anymore.
Oh,
And I
wow,
really
wow,
go
wow.
into the state and give you here whatever you.
But yet let Ilan answer.
No, I'm fed up with this. But the point I want to make, what you are doing with the phosphoric acid, which is a product, what you do with it? You don't know. This is the point. You know how much radionuclear are in contact when you don't care.
רמי, זה אולי המשך הדיון אולי צריך להיות
רגע,
בעיניים.
עוד 5 דקות. עוד 5 דקות. I have a question. Wait. I have a question that I want to answer before we close
Thank you very
this.
much. Have a good day.
You
No, I'm
too.
sitting out.
בסדר. פנחס, חכה שנייה. I have a question to Shai and to Ilan as a representative of the regulators. What makes you think that you know that the use in construction is more economically, is preferable economically on the use in agriculture, especially if you take into consideration all the external influences, such as substitute for diminishable resources and all that. Why do you say that? On what basis?
More economical, or do you say?
No,
we didn't say
economical
that
when you
it's
take
more-
into consideration the external influences.
No, we just said it's safer. We are not concerned about economy at all. This is not our job.
Look,
Definitely not.
all this discussion
Whether
gets out from the point that this material is very, very beneficial, and we
Okay.
don't let it be used in agriculture,
Right.
although it is beneficial.
Right.
And yet, Israel we just showed it, is the country that use coal ash in agriculture more in percentage, more than any other country, right? You brought us experts from Greece, from Australia, from India, and from other countries who uses
But what's the
coal
conclusion
ash.
from
And we're
that?
at the lab.
But
We're at the
none
lab.
of these countries use coal ash regularly as applied regularly. It is all research. It is all on,
Yeah.
on,
Yeah,
on
it's true.
experimental.
That's not true.
It is on
Definitely true.
experimental
Definitely
base.
true. Yeah.
So I don't, and we do it.
Yeah.
We use it practically. We use it. So I don't. What is the point?
Agriculture in Israel is known to be very advanced, maybe even more than all the countries that you talked about.
So don't ruin it. Don't put it under threat.
But why do you say
That's
that? What's the
exactly
threat? There is no threat. No, we are not. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure. We woke up a little bit.